it to start. You good to go? Yeah. Welcome to another edition of the Views from the Friend Zone podcast. It's your boy Real Talk Morph, who I got in the building with me.
It's your boy Cliff Brockman.
Yeah. So, tensions are running high across the country, so decided to have an episode where we speak about a lot of, pressing issues, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to call this the woke episode, you know what I'm saying? So,
Okay.
a lot of things are going crazy, different protesting in NFL, and people are going back and forth on what they consider is the right way to protest, what's considered not the right way to protest. I want to give the side eye of the week, you know what I'm saying, to Ray Lewis. Because Ray Lewis is just like, he don't know what side of the fence he want to be on, you know what I'm saying? He act like he not down with the kneeling, then he knelt, then he said, oh no, y'all took it wrong. I did it with two knees, not one knee, because the two knees meant I was praying. So now he's just making it a whole science, you know what I'm saying? And what's disappointing about that is, Ray Lewis, you almost got put to jail for life for catching a body, and we supported you during that time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, you said it all. What else is to talk about? But yeah, I think right now he's just lost. He's confused. He's doing a lot of big deal with let's be honest, with white people, black people, all kind of different races and stuff. And now he's just confused. He doesn't know where he want to stand. 20 years ago, like you said, 20 years ago, he would be in a jail cell right now if it wasn't for, his lawyers and his team, Johnny Cochran and them supporting them and making sure that everything went right.
Yeah. It's a crazy thing. What bothers me the most is, African Americans and minorities who's acting like they don't understand the meaning behind the protest. The national anthem, all three verses ain't kosher. You know what I'm saying? The first verse that everybody sings, is the verse that everyone acknowledged, but the killing the slaves, the runaway slave stuff, people don't acknowledge. And it's not that we're against the flag. It's not that we hate America, but we want America to wake up, to realize what's going on. So when someone like, Ray Lewis or Herschel Walker come in and said, oh no, you shouldn't do that to the flag. It's like saying when they was doing the bus boycotts back in the 60s, they was against bus. You know how silly that sounds? You know what I'm saying? But that's what people are not getting. People are trying to be like, I'm going to ignore the big issue and be like, oh, you're disrespecting the flag. How's he disrespecting the flag? It's not like Colin Kaepernick or the NFL players took a flag and did some kind of nasty gesture, wiped their ass with a flag or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, while y'all acknowledging and singing praise to the country, I want to take a knee for the country to realize that I'm hurting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I really don't, it kind of bothers me. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to get into the topics, And the first topic is protesting in 2017. I want to also say we have a guest who's running a little late, but he's going to come on. And the special thing about the guest that we're having, Mr. Sean Foreman, is that he's a former police officer and he's also a former soldier. So when he does come, he's allowed to provide us a perspective on both ends. Someone who served in the military who we're trying to quote unquote say that protesting is disrespecting, and also someone who served as a police officer, which, police brutality against minority men in this country and not being held accountable for killing these men is why people are protesting. The national anthem has nothing to do with this. What I was trying to think about is when we was kids, I never seen the national anthem get played at every game. They didn't even do it. They started doing it later because the government gave the NFL money to be like, yo, we want more people to join the army. Do that so we could get more praise. You know what I'm saying? And, another sidebar I want to jump into before I got on to the show today is I did a Kneel for Injustice challenge on my Facebook page, a little, I don't want to call it a freestyle, but a little spoken word rap verse, because someone told me, I was telling someone, okay, I get it. You'll do such and such for the D. such and such for the P. You know, that challenge is going crazy and celebrities are getting involved. And it's sort of like the same thing how mad people got involved with the mannequin challenge, or everybody was doing the mannequin challenge, or mad people doing dabs. And I'm just like, okay, cool, we're making these things viral. People are having fun with it. Why don't we make a protest about something serious viral? So I did a Kneel for Injustice challenge. I challenge anybody who feel like, you know, they want to do one as well. Hashtag Kneel for Injustice, and then do a freestyle spoken word. But our first topic is protesting in 2017. It seems like some Americans are calling the recent kneel protests in NFL un-American. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think we would now, in 2017, you got to protest with a purpose. The thing about some of the NFL players, it's like now they want it back happening now because everybody's on board. You know, they didn't do it when he first started. You know, talking about these issues and taking a stand for it. Now I feel like they on board from now because they feel like they can't be affected. So it's confusing. I think it's confusing. So I mean, when you protest, you got to protest with a purpose, no matter what. Even if somebody else is not on board, if you believe in something, that's what you should do. I feel like now they're doing it because the support is there. They know people's gonna come behind them. It's no consequences to their protest now. But nobody was backing him up before. He's been not playing for how long now?
Exactly.
And you know, so that's that.
That's how this country is.
But it's confusing. You know,
when something gets popular, that's when people are offended or people get on board. But you know, when it's hard, when it's a hard thing, when you're the first one doing it, it seems like, you know, people just like, I don't know, I don't want to affect their money. And Terry Crews was on Hot 97, and he said something that was really deep. He was just like, it's really difficult for the NFL players to get behind because their money is tied into, it's not guaranteed. So you could sign a big contract, but if they're not feeling you, if they're not feeling you, if they're not feeling you, then they could just cut you. You know what I'm saying? I don't see anything un-American about the protest. But I'm not naive. I also realize that throughout generations, every time there was a protest, people on the other side always says, oh, like in the 70s when people would protest in Vietnam, they were saying, oh, you hippies, go get a job. You know what I'm saying? People was, you know, the woman movement. There's been movements where women were like burning their bras because women want equal pay. And then people was like, oh, these women are troublemakers. So I get it. I also know that when you choose to protest something that's wrong, it's not going to be popular. Mm-hmm. But I feel like for people to feel like protesting the national anthem in the NFL is un-American, the most American thing is to protest for what's not right. I don't know if people know their history or not, but we became America because we decided to not, you know, our forefathers or the first settlers from other places decided not to continue to be under the rule of the British, not to get too preachy. So they had the Tea Party. They had different shows of, listen, we want things to change, so we're going to protest. Mm-hmm. That was America. That's how America was formed. So I don't understand. Now it seems like we're making minorities in this country seem like they're terrorists because they want justice. They're not asking for anything that's crazy. They're not asking for, oh, we want advantages because of such and such. It's just like, yo, if someone gets killed by a police officer or unjust, we want to be able to be like, you know what, our justice system is going to have our back. And too many times the justice system doesn't have our back. So I don't understand why it's so un-American. You know what I'm saying? Like, why the NFL protests un-American? The NBA has a chance to protest easier because it's just like, yo, my contract's solid.
Their money is guaranteed.
The next 3 to 5 years.
So, I mean, what I listened to the interview Terry Crews was saying, and he's a former NFL player. You know, the NFL is different from like NBA and baseball because NFL, you could be here today, gone tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Like there's cats that was playing in the Super Bowl that's not in the NFL no more. So
which is crazy.
That's why it's the whole protesting thing. I get it. A lot of people, you got to be careful because your finances is how you support your family and how you make ends meet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now a lot of people want to jump in and get on the bandwagon and do it now because they feel like they got the support, they got the backing, everything will be okay. But people wasn't on it 6 months ago, 7 months. You know what I'm saying? So it's confusing. And for me to sit there and act like I'm not going to watch football on Sunday and protest and do different things.
It's tough.
It's tough.
You know what would be so amazing? And we'll never know. We'll never have the opportunity. Like, how would it have been if J.J. Watt was the one who took the stand and knee for injustice? He would have never done it. We know we would have never had that. But what if it was J.J. Watt? He's like the all-American football player that everyone loves.
Yeah.
When he decided to raise money for Houston, he just wanted to raise like $500,000.
He raised like $5 million.
And now he's at like almost $50 million.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
good.
But that, and it wasn't a race thing. It was just like, people needed help.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is like, people aren't. I know they always move like Black Lives Matter is a terrorist group. They're anti-police. I'm not. Sometimes you have a few bad apples who will say "F the police," but we need the police. Without the police, it'd be crazy. I know personally. I walk around with jewelry. I drive a nice car. I wouldn't feel safe going everywhere if I didn't know that there was consequences for people trying to rob me or trying to kill me. So we need the police. Nobody's saying it's anti-police. But it's just like, where's the accountability for it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't we feel like there's a chance that if someone's a bad apple, they're going to go to jail? In every industry that we have, if you have a bad apple, you have a bad CEO, a bad trader, and stuff like that. If they get caught, they're going to be prosecuted. And 9 out of 10 times, they're going to go to jail. They might plea out to something small and stuff like that. But it's just like, you could have video evidence. You could have witnesses, and it still doesn't happen. So, I don't want to go too off tangent, but it's just like, how could protesting be considered un-American, especially in the NFL?
Like I said, big bro, it's confusing right now because it's a lot of people that's on the bandwagon right now. And it's kind of like, it's confusing because it's like, you protested now, you wasn't doing it before. And then certain people that you think would appreciate that, let's be honest, the NFL is 70% African Americans.
Exactly.
So to have somebody like Ray Lewis act the way he's acting, it's unheard of. But people got their own opinions and their own policies and stuff, and he wants to act in front of the teammates like he's supporting them. But then when he gets on ESPN, he's talking another song.
Not ESPN, but the NFL Network. I don't think he's no longer an ESPN worker, but I got what you're saying.
NFL, ESPN. I seen him on I think he was on ESPN. I think he was on. Was he on ESPN?
Nah, he's a Fox. He's a Fox.
Okay, but he wanna sing a different tune when he's on there. So it's like, I was praying and stuff. I mean, this whole protest thing is confusing. I'm not gonna lie, it's confusing, and I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna start watching football on Sunday.
Yeah, and to me, it's like, it's tough, right? Because football is like my second favorite sport, football and basketball. And you know what? I'm really hurt by the injustice of it. So it's tough to watch the product. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't did a complete ban of the NFL, but my heart's not into it. So I haven't really been watching games. I haven't watched a complete game yet. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's been really tough to like watch football wholeheartedly. And what's killing me is like Kaepernick. Kaepernick is, the face of this movement of kneeling during the protest. And we're, Kaepernick's not perfect, right? I bet you any person that we use as I don't want to say a martyr because it's not like he sacrificed life or anything like that, but anybody we use as a head of a movement, if you look at their whole closet, everybody has skeletons in the closet. So Kaepernick has done things like, wore a Fidel Castro shirt, and Castro's a dictator. So, there's a lot of controversy regarding that. And then he wore socks, that had police hats on pigs. So I get it. He's not a perfect person. But the way that the man is ridiculed or targeted, you would think he's always get arrested, has domestic violence, does drugs. The man on his personal time does a lot of volunteering, donating, but we still chastise the man as if he was, a terrible person. How you doing, man?
Sorry about that. Coming from Westchester.
No problem, bro. We appreciate it. So, right before you came in, the first topic we're talking about is protesting in 2017. And I told the audience that you were coming and you were a former police officer as well as a former soldier. So if you want to take a time, you could just introduce yourself real quick and then I'll ask you a question.
Okay, good. My name is Sean Farmer. Yeah, I can hear myself. And I started a police career when I was 19 years old, actually.
Okay.
As a military policeman. And then I served 12 years as a police officer in Westchester County.
Okay.
So, to that end, and now I'm currently an unlicensed social worker. I'm a social work candidate at Stony Brook.
Okay.
So I've seen both parameters. I mean, you are who you are. Part of later, I'm going to have a cheap plug on my book. I just completed a book.
Oh, that's beautiful. Now, it's not a cheap plug. I always want to support people who are doing endeavors. So we'll definitely give you time to shout out the book and everything.
Yeah, it talks about the police, the culture. Okay, because a lot of people don't understand. I'm kind of a centrist by nature. Your brother could tell you that. I'm always on the inmate side. So they used to call me a social worker with a gun.
Okay.
When I was on the job. So I'm always coming from that side. But it's the culture that people don't understand. How could my brother not say that this was wrong? My sister's a cop. How could she not be against this incident or that incident?
Yeah.
And so the book goes into, and it's important for the regular people to know that loyalty in that profession is so important. I mean,
and you're talking about policing,
right? Once you enter the profession, you're taught loyalty to the blue, and that's why it frustrates the rest of us because we're like, it's right there in front of you. How could you not? You're not going to criticize another cop. Yeah. That could be you. So things like that, and just an understanding of what happens. The same cop that was rude to you on a car stop or insensitive or bigoted, that same cop will crawl into a burning car to save your child. And I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen,
It's funny that you said that. That was an interesting scene in the movie Crash that came out years ago.
That's where I take it from.
Yeah. So, before you walked in, the topic we was discussing was protesting in 2017. The first question we had spoke about is why some Americans feel like the recent nail protesting is un-American. How do you feel about that?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Like the whole protesting, kneeling during the national anthem.
Okay.
People are saying that it's un-American. How do you feel about that?
That's a. I have an answer, but that's a.
Listen, well, don't hold back. That's why I bring you on the show, right?
See, people
don't hold back.
We're tribal by nature.
Yeah.
Human beings. And I have an undergrad in behavioral science, so I still study human behavior.
Yeah.
We're tribal, so if my tribe, think about football. We'll stay on the football topic.
Yeah.
If my tribe is the Giants, you can't tell me he's a Dallas. You can't tell me anything about. I don't want to hear anything you say, even if it's factual, about Eli. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
I'm going to come back with two Super Bowls or whatever. Facts don't matter. They make me more angry.
Yeah,
and vice versa. So just keep that model in mind.
Yeah,
it can explain a lot of what's going on. Keep that model in mind, but. Going back to the protests insofar as the NFL, first of all, a lot of misunderstanding in media, and it's been watered down very, very, I can't give me a word, very, very genius how they watered that topic down by having the billionaires sit with the millionaires and genius. But that aside,
it's a distraction.
It's genius, though.
It's a very, in
a devilish way.
Yeah.
You got when I see wow. But anyway, the purpose of a demonstration or whatever is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yes. And that's the perfect.
It's supposed to make you. Martin Luther King made people feel uncomfortable.
And it's bringing to people's face. So obviously, you brought up something that was very brilliant to me as far as people being tribal, people being like, people are gonna take from things whatever they feel like they want to take from.
Right, and the part of the human brain that's activated when I criticize the Mets. This is studied. The part of the human brain that's activated is defense.
Yeah.
And then you look at these shows, and people make a lot of money off of that because you get two people opposing sides. I was at a family gathering yesterday. They started talking about Trump. My mother-in-law was about to have a stroke.
Yeah.
And that's it really. We can be, what's the word? We can be compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Easily. But there's a remedy to that. And dealing and if you could help me, could identify and dealing with that. When you're dealing with a person that's like that, tribal, you have to say, I'm part of your tribe too. Mm-hmm. Oh, what? Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. This is what we do with the inmates.
Yeah.
You find something.
Yeah.
And then
that they can relate to. That brings down their defenses.
Right.
And then you could have a more open dialogue.
With, yeah.
So the second question I want to have is the flag being used as a distraction to the real issue? Do you think if it was a different form of protest was being used, there would still be the same controversy? Like, for instance, not to cut you off, like back in the 60s, I think it was John Carlos and another, during the national anthem, like during the, the Olympic ceremony, they didn't kneel, they put their fist up in black solidarity.
That was 50 years ago.
And people were upset as well.
They
and
sent
it's just
him
like,
home.
he was standing. He didn't kneel, so because people are saying kneeling during the national anthem is disrespect, you should stand. They were standing. They put their fist up, saying, you know what, my people are being chastised, so it's hard for me to just...
He was on a plane the next day. That's the part people don't know, that they signed. He was sent home the next day. But that was 50 years ago.
I'm hearing people saying, I want you to answer too, I'm hearing people saying, well, don't do it during the national anthem. Mm-hmm. I can't do it during the game and distract things. This is the only time where I have a whole set of people who are engaged or listening and looking, and it's not much of distraction. Mm-hmm. So this is the time that I can be a distraction. My thing is, where people always say, oh, well, that's not the right way to protest.
Right.
So if he wasn't kneeling during the flag, what could he have been doing that would have the equal attention and not be offensive? Because people always want to tell you you're not doing it the right way, but don't want to give you solutions.
Exactly. They have criticism with no solution.
Definitely, 100%.
So what do you think? Like, you think the flag, like the national anthem, is that being used as an scapegoat to be like the reason why they're so angry? Because it's just like, people be like, oh, you're disrespecting our flag. Go back to your country. And America weren't the first people here. It kills me because people always want to say get over slavery, right?
Get over it, yeah.
But then when you start breaking down the history of how the country was formed, how Americans aren't the original, inhabitants of this country, then it's just like, oh yeah, but you're going back too far, and this is our country now. So I don't understand when history is useful.
Would you
people.
tell an 8-year-old that was raped to get over it?
No,
because it's trauma, and you don't.
No.
It's passed down.
Yeah.
So that
I never, even when people make jokes about Jewish people being burned and stuff like that, I'm like, that's
trauma.
That's
crazy.
Somebody's
grandmother.
That's crazy.
Somebody's grandfather. That's real to people.
And then people also always says that slavery was such a long time ago. Slavery ended, in 1800s, which is not that crazy long time ago. But Jim Crow, redlining, a whole bunch of other things has kept the slavery mentality still here.
Part of the formation of the police department was to enforce.
People make it seem like slavery's over. Everybody started to be equal. It was kumbaya.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So I with the flag distraction, like, do you guys? I want an answer from both of you guys. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's another form of protest that could have been done that people would have been like, okay, I could get behind it?
I don't know. I'm like I said, it's very confusing because even our people, they seem confusing. They're like one like everybody wasn't on board. If everybody back captaining up from the beginning, then it would be easy to be like, you know what? Yeah, they could have went about it this way. People waited to say, you know what? I'm cool. Oh, it's like they waited for that phone call to get solidified to be like, can I back him now? Right. So it's confusing to say what point would have made it better. You understand? You know what I'm saying? Protesting, it got to be unity, right? Mm-hmm. If it's only one person and you're doing it by yourself, that's you. You know what I'm saying? If the unity part was better, I can answer that question. I can't really answer it because I'm confused. Even with Ray Lewis, he's confusing me.
That's what Jim Brown was
You
saying.
know, I'm confused. I can't sit there and say they could do it a better way because everybody wasn't on board at one time. Mm-hmm. You understand? It was one person who took a stand, and then people waited months later to be like, all right, I'm going to back him now. I'm okay. You know? It's like, okay, can I do this?
It's
you
safe,
know?
yeah.
It's safe. Like you said, it's safe. So I can't answer that the proper way, the way, you know?
What about you?
Again, that's the type of protest as opposed to the national anthem. I think Kaepernick. Forgive me, I'm trying to speak for Kaepernick, but I think what he was saying was he saw the hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't even like the word. How I always describe it, and I'm a veteran, and it's a love-hate relationship with this. It's like an abusive parent. Mm-hmm. For Black Americans, right? That's the best way I could describe it. It's like mommy beats me, mommy's mean to me, but that's still mommy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And anybody who travels internationally, okay, yeah, and has ever had some trouble, I don't care, what you say. When you see that embassy and you see that flag, mm-hmm, and you get into that's when it's real. A lot of the people, I call them Facebook vigilantes or protest. Yeah, they've never. I mean, not to sound elitist, but they've never really left the country. Mm-hmm. They've never really been in trouble outside of the United States, and to know what that means. Yeah,
to separate the two, what's
right.
going on. Yeah,
but but as far as protesting, I mean, that's perfect because I think it was organic. Mm-hmm. Because. Again, I'm 47 years old. I'm not. Colin Kaepernick is the age of my son. Maybe 25, 26.
I think he's a little older now, like 27, 28. Yeah.
Right. And so he doesn't have he didn't have even. And Jim Brown was saying this. He didn't have. I think it was an organic, emotional thing. Mm-hmm. It was real.
Some people say he didn't have a well mapped out plan.
It wasn't well mapped out.
But
it was real.
Like, we don't live in the days in the 60s where it was just, like, really well organized. We live in a day and age where, like, you know what? Everybody wants to be viral. Everybody wants to have that national sensation. So we do
that
something.
Yeah.
So, but this, before we move on to the next topic, with the protesting, I want to say is, like, because the question was, is there a better way to protest social injustice?
What do you think about it?
This is my thing. Mm-hmm. What I think the reason why this is perfect, because it's creating dialogue. When people was having issues before they march, people are saying, oh, look at all the destruction that the protest is having. You're destroying your communities. That's not the right way to do with it. When it was like, those violent, protests like in Ferguson or in Baltimore when things were getting burned down and blown. And I always say the worst thing to do is to destroy your community. You know what I'm saying? So when people took protests to the Capitol, people were saying, oh, these people are so unorganized. And well-organized people are lazy. They should be at work.
Right.
Whenever you bring issues to people's attention, they always tell you you're not doing it the right way.
Right. Yeah.
But they don't.
We're electing politicians to speak for us, and they don't speak for us. So I commend Kaepernick because Kaepernick said, you know what? I'm going to, And the thing about it was not like Kaepernick held a press conference and did it. He started doing his own thing. Right. You came to him, he expressed his views, and then now he's a bad guy.
He was doing it. I think he had done it 2 or 3 times before anybody noticed, and then he gave the reason. And that's why I think that it was organic. Because I've had those struggles. Listen, man. I've had those struggles. My family, my mother's side of my family comes from Barbados. You know, my great grandfather came from Barbados, but my father's side were sharecroppers, were slaves in Lynchburg, Virginia, and my father was raised by his grandfather. So the point I'm trying to make, my father was born in 1924. Not to get the numbers crazy, but what I'm saying is my father was practically raised by a slave.
Yeah.
In 1924 Lynchburg, Virginia. Yeah. That's real to people.
Yeah, and that's why it kills me when people's like get over slavery. Like, it's not like people. It's not like slavery was such a long time ago. We gotta only see inscriptions on a cave.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people who grandparents and parents was slavery are still alive.
But people only think slavery is what they see on the movies, right? So if you don't know your history, Black History is the shortest month. Black History is the shortest month, and it's not really celebrated in school like that, right? So when you see these little movies, you get the Dr. Martin Luther King movie when his birthday come. You get the Malcolm X movies. You get the Harriet Tubman stories. You get the Rosa Parks stories, but you don't look into it. And it's easy for people to get over slavery when you don't know your history.
Not only that, you know, I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna move on to the next topic, which kind of stays within the realm. It's just like when people say, "Oh, he's ungrateful, he's privileged, you need to go back to your country," which is quote unquote Africa. Why you send me back to Africa? Are you going back to Europe too, or only I have to go back to my country?
That's the grand premise and the genius, again, that evil genius that we talked about earlier of white supremacy. You know, and understand just quickly, white supremacy is not an idiot with a hat and a burnt. What I'm talking about is the institution that was used for colonialism. That God is white. That white Jesus. That white Jesus looks more like Bobby than it does like me. What has that done to the psyche? So now the light-skinned kids get treated better, as close to that white Jesus. The light-skinned kids get treated better. You know, even in our own communities, we have that thing. So that's where the distinction of you know, true white supremacy, that we practice it. Come on, we practice it. Shorty bad, but she'd be better if she was a red bone. You know?
That's super
we have
ignorant
a topic later on. We're going to discuss that falls into that realm. So let me move on to this next topic. Next topic is patriotism. With the way America is showing its true colors, can black people truly be patriotic?
The definition you got in that. So in that certain area, you go to the definition of patriotism, and a true patriot to me, and I don't know who I'm stealing this quote, so forgive me. But a true patriot criticizes his country.
Exactly, because you want what's best for the country.
You want what's best.
You're not hiding its ugly colors. You're not sweeping it under the rug and be like, you know what, I'm wrong, but you know what, my country is the best country in the world. I can still have love for America and say it's false. It's like being in a relationship. My wife could tell me when I'm being a bad husband, but that don't mean she don't love me. She's just keeping me accountable.
And the opposite. If she let you go out of the house and destroy yourself, maybe she got a nice life insurance policy on you, right?
Maybe there's a hidden agenda.
Because anybody who's criticizing you, you know, that's love. You know that, we know that from babies. That's love. Stop that, right?
Yeah. So what you think? Can black people be true patriots?
I don't know. It depends. You know, it's tough. It's tough because it's like black people. We don't. It's like anything we do is like we gotta have a back end to it. It's never just okay. Yeah, that was a great move by this individual. You know what I mean? And when Obama was president. Oh, he's not doing this. He's not doing that. He's
critical.
Yeah, he's critical. So it's not anything we do, any power moves we make. We always gotta have because of this, because of that. It's never just a general like, you know what, that was a great move for everybody. It's tough.
I think we not only are black people true patriots. Think about it. We continue to be disrespected on a large scale, but we still run to fight for our country.
Right. My great-grandfather was in World War I.
In the World War I was just going to say World War I, World War II. These people went to fight, give their lives overseas in all different countries, and came back and still had to sit in the back of the bus, or still was disrespected, still had their houses burned down, and they fought for their country. They didn't say, I'm fighting for black people. I'm fighting for the land that I was born to and live on.
Right.
Yeah.
So how could our patriotism be questioned when we just want accountability? It sounds like a history lesson, but when the Boston Tea Party happened and they threw all the tea into the thing, it was just like, yo, we want accountability. How are we going to get this accountability?
No taxation without representation. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, if I could, my father fought in World War II. He put up phone lines in World War II. He was a signalman. My father, my pops. And he tells the story that when he came back from World War II, he got a Purple Heart. He got malaria. He was in North Africa, Italy, and France. When he came back to New York, he went to Ma Bell. Yeah. And said, I'm a veteran, and I put up phone lines in Europe for the Army. Yeah. They said, the only thing you can do for us is sweep the floor.
So when he was fighting for our country, he's good enough to do it overseas.
Yeah.
When we came back, he was only qualified to clean up.
And he said,
and he was doing it in hostile environments.
Right.
But I can't do it in peaceful home. You see what I'm saying?
Wait, his answer was, and this is a true story, I can do that for myself. And he started a building maintenance business, RSF Building Maintenance, which is still that raised me, and my brother still has it to this day. Yeah. So he mopped floors and building maintenance back in the day. But yeah, that's a story. We've always been patriots. It's, again, going back to the model, it's an abused child. Sometimes the most loyal, faithful child is the one that's smacked around. Think about it. In a dysfunctional family, it's the one that's always treated like crap. That's the one that really loves, because he wants love.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And if you think about blacks in America, we've always loved this country. She's so abusive sometimes, and always through. And there's times that she's loving, and there's times that she's learning, but the history is there, the trauma is there, and it goes into a love-hate relationship. It goes into a love-hate relationship. I wouldn't want to live anywhere. A lot of people, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else because I've been other places. Yeah,
and that's the crazy thing about it is, I call America out because I want America to do better. I never say, as a black person, please give me an advantage. I want to be pushed to the front of the line for a reason. I said, give me a fair shot. Right. Like, to be honest with you, when a cop pulls me over and he gives me a ticket and lets me go, that was fair. I want to be. Give me the ticket.
Give me the time.
Give me the ticket. Let me go home. That's cool. That's what I want. Right. I want those situations to be that way. But so many times it get escalated.
And you also want to leave
crazy.
with your dignity intact. And I'm never going to beat up on police officers ever, because it's such an honorable profession. To take your words, I want to see it better. I know it can be better. And I would like to see it better. You should leave that. You should have $300 in tickets, but your dignity intact.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
And you feel like, you know what? I got pulled over not because of the car I was driving, not because of my skin tone, because I was driving too fast, or I was reckless when I was driving.
You want, like you saying, you want a fair shot when it comes to this.
Right. And not only that, I want the liberty and the chance to be upset, like any other person. Like, how many times you'll watch a video of a white person cursing out the cop, being all crazy and reckless, and then the cop keeps his cool. Right. I want to be able to, as a black person who pay taxes, to, lose my temper, but be able to walk away with my life.
Yeah. The perception of, I remember when I was just learning how to drive. When I got my driver's license, I was 17 years old. My father said, I was about 6'2", but a lot skinnier back then. My father said, you are a big black man. When you get pulled over, a police officer will kill you if you make him afraid. Turn the lights on, keep your hands weak, and move. The whole speech we probably all got. Yeah. And that's not to indict police officers, because I could tell you, I've done car stops at 2:00 in the morning with my hand at low ready gun. Yeah. And a car full of kids that I perceived at the time to be from the hood or from the urban kids that look like my kid. Okay, and that's what one of the things black cops deal with. Kids that I can smell the weed and the windows is tinted. I got my gun at low ready gun because I'm not a fool.
Yeah,
that's not possible. Now, what if I was a white cop and I even just made that statement? So a lot of it, we got to keep it real. Those police officers that pulled you over and it was disrespectful. Let's not even go to the dramatic gun. But that police officer that pulled you over and didn't give you the dignity, he's not a robot. You could have triggered something in him from his upbringing, where he got bullied by the black guys, or whatever. Yeah. And that's real. Or he could have just got off the phone with his wife, who he knows she should be. He all these issues play up.
Yeah,
right?
play up.
We know this. We know this from our work.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
So I'm gonna ask a question that's kind of a little spicy, but I gotta be honest. Do you think is Trump turning black people and other minorities into the new terrorists? Right, because he's playing up on the fears, really, really extreme. Like I remember 9/11. I was in college, and I remember for our Arab brothers, it got really, really crazy for them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
during 9/11, yeah.
No matter what they
guys
did,
lost jobs there.
People that before 9/11 was in class with me learning stuff like that, I had no problem with them. He was just a brown man. I'm a browner man.
Right.
But then after that, people's attentions were hiked up, and all of a sudden, it's just like, can I trust this person? Is this person crazy and stuff like that? And I feel like Trump is playing on our fears and making minorities into a new form of different terrorists. Look at how he approaches. Says the Mexicans, they're sending their rapists, not their best, their drug dealers and stuff like that. He's painting these narrow pictures. So do you think Trump is making us minorities into the new terrorists?
The other side of that is that I think that the majority, first of all, I think Trump was elected because Hillary didn't say, I'm a white too. And I think
Hillary
that
tried to placate everyone, and then her lack of stance made no one feel solid with her.
Right. She was right. She needed to tell white people that I'm white too, because white people, it's a common occurrence that people, if you have 10 jelly beans, and you have 10 jelly beans, and I have 3 or 1, and I ask for 2 from both, you feel oppressed. That's a phenomenon in human beings. That the oppressor feels oppressed, or the larger minority, I should say the majority feels oppressed when the minority tries to just get some semblance of balance.
Yeah.
The reaction is like, the white males, black guys get the jobs, and it's easier to be a black guy. Really?
When?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's emotion, and so I breathe. And I've had these guys. That's just emotion talking. Would you rather be a black guy getting stop?
Yeah.
Like as Chris Rock tells a funny story that on my block it's me, Mary J. Blige, and like a dentist.
I was just thinking that.
He's not the best dentist that ever lived.
But he's been afforded the privilege to be just as compensated as I am. And I'm one of the best comedians. Jay-Z's one of the best rappers. I remember that.
Malcolm X said something. He said that until you understand whites, and I hope I'm quoting him correctly, until you understand white supremacy, what the word really means, all these things will do nothing but confuse and frustrate you in America. See, nothing confuses and frustrates me. I understand that even some of my closest best friends and brothers, some of my closest family members are affected by white supremacy. It's not just some guy hurting black people. White supremacy affects all of us, and this is what it's just a continuance of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, once you get the premise and understanding that America was found based on white supremacy, and that's all well and good, because the English, the Spanish, and who am I forgetting? The English, the Spanish, and who were the 3 colonial?
French,
of course.
Yeah.
You should know that.
Yeah.
So those 3, that's what they did, and they used all those things we've heard about, mating with the natives, bringing black gold, they called us, over from West Africa.
Yeah.
All these things make perfect sense. get them to worship that white God, right? Get them to, and then it's natural. You don't have to do the work. Mothers will teach their children to bow their heads when they see white people, because that's a little better than us. You know, so, and once that's ingrained, you don't even have to teach it. It's the trauma and the lie. See, that's what we need to work on, is breaking that lie. It was very ingenious, though. Wow.
So what do you think? Do you think Trump is making us into the new terrorists?
He's making us the new terrorists, but he's just, we already angry people as in general, right? African American people are already angry, right?
I think we're more hurt, we're more frustrated than angry, because angry is a perception that we get thrown upon us. Because it's just like, I'm gonna let you finish, but it's just like, if you get punched in the face all the time, you're on alert. You're hostile. It seems like you're hostile, but it's just like you're tired of it. But go ahead.
We already have a way of, like you said, when we heard, we get angry or frustrated because of the lack of support from years to come, right? So now, lack of support, lack of respect. So now, we got this president that's saying, again, it's my way or the highway. So now you already trained. You're already trained to be
on alert.
On alert, right?
And now you're extra alert.
Now you on a higher level because you got this man that's telling you, listen, we're bad.
It's real, man.
We're bad. When he was getting elected, he was basically saying, "Yo, we got to bring the white man back in office. That you had your shot."
He made the white man feel like a victim. And I don't understand.
He said, "Listen." When he was getting elected in office, when he says, "Y'all had your shot. Y'all did nothing with it. We back, and this is how it's going down." And now we're like, "Hold on, what's going on? We got to put our guards up again." That's what it is.
Take note of how many. Once sun goes down, of how many Latinos, day workers, disappear.
Yeah,
they're living under. I'm sorry, they come out, or they're living in fear, man. Every day. I mean, little kids. They're living in. It's really. I did some social work down in the South Bronx
with the DACA reform. It's just crazy.
It puts you at basically with him. As president, you at high alert at all times now. Nothing you do to yourself is like, I gotta watch out. I gotta do this. Even him as him being as president, you keep been at your job 20 years, but now you feel like, why is this person talking to me like this?
Yeah.
Prime example. You know, we're in a staff meeting, or we're in a staff training. I don't want to get specific about it. We're in a staff training, and it's like, the conversation that's being had towards us is like, really? Why are you talking to us like that?
I never felt so divided. You know? Trump hasn't been president for a year yet, and I've never felt so divided ever. Like, even when Obama was running the first time and then the second time, I started to notice in the population of people that I interacted with that people were uncomfortable with Obama. And I was thinking to myself, like, yo, even myself, I was skeptical. Like, Obama is just like, the guy says everything right. The guy's so educated. The guy's so smart. You kind of wondering, like, you know, when is the controversy going to come? And it never came. It never came. The whole 8 years, it never came. People were second-guessing his decisions every time.
But when
Trump makes bad things. Trump says, I grab him by the P word. Trump family's doing backdoor deals with Russians and stuff like that. Obama would have been impeached a long time ago.
But look what's happening, right? He's the leader now. He basically said, listen, I'm back in office. My color is back in office, and this is how it's going to go down. Either you follow or you step off. That's just how it is. And
that's one thing I can respect about him. He's gangster with his wrongness. He's incorrect. He's politically incorrect, but he's gangster with it.
Him as president, you automatic. Like I said, you shouldn't be angry. And black people, we naturally have anger in this period. It doesn't matter. Things could be going great, 100%. We always say, listen.
I don't want to put out that angry.
You know, let me explain that.
I know, but it's a false narrative that the news paints to us that we're angry.
But it's not about
go ahead.
It's not just about the news, right? Somebody who's wealthy, who has $700 million, right? You think everything should be good, right? Everything should be what you call it. if he gets next to that white person that says a certain word to him, he's automatic like he probably has more money. Listen, you understand what I'm saying? He has more money than that white person. That's it. But if that white person says something that he didn't like, he'd be like, "Why is he talking to me like that?
Right.
I'm more important than him because you're already in that scale of me of feeling that certain kind of way in that bar.
Some people who can't, and that's what's frustrating me about the country and a lot of things. Some people who can't use intelligence to back you down will always play on your insecurities. Be like, okay, boy, we let you in the room, but you still a boy.
but listen, you know what I'm saying? But listen, that comment alone, right? That comment alone, if that comes from a Caucasian man, okay, boy, we let you in the room with your automatically. You could have more money than that person.
Right.
You could be more successful than that person. Automatic, you like
that trauma.
Who the fuck you talking to?
Right.
Yeah.
That's where the anger part comes out. I'm not saying we naturally angry. I'm saying that events that lead up to it make us feel that way. And now we got Trump as president. We back at like high alert, and we back to being we back to being vicious because that's the only way we know how to fight. From Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and everything. We know when stuff come apart and things something going our way, we're gonna be high alert and we gotta be attentive to certain things. That's why. So, common, like you said, okay, boy, I'm worth $800 million, and this regular Joe Blow tell me, okay, boy, I'm like,
well, let me. How did LeBron act when they wrote that on his door?
The N-word.
Because that's $1 billion brother, right?
Yeah. Or close to it, or on the way.
He acted very professional, right? He kept his calm and his cool.
Well, what we saw.
Yeah, but it also reminded us, like, it don't matter what you achieve in this world. Some people are always gonna reduce you down to that. So I want to ask one last question on this topic before we get to the next topic, and if we can keep the answers 30 seconds, because I want to be able to touch the next topic and give you a chance to talk about your book as well.
Oh, okay.
So the last question is, with patriotism, is patriotism being used to push a white supremacy agenda? Because I felt like even as we were, getting heated with the Obama thing, now I feel like, you know what, people in the name of patriotism be like, oh, you don't respect the flag? Get that monkey out this country. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. He's not respecting the flag, but now he's a monkey. Now get that punishment. It's just like, like you said, there's been an agenda to make people of privilege feel like they're losing their privilege. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like the safe word is like, oh, he doesn't have patriotism. You know what I'm saying? It's like, is that being used to mask the white supremacy agenda?
I think that it's like trying to separate the sauce from the gravy. I mean, you can't take the tomatoes from the sauce. It's all inclusive. But again, that goes back to the tribal thing. That's what human beings, for some reason, my tribe, the Dallas Cowboys, is better than your tribe, the Giants, and it goes back to that. So now I'm a patriot. That's the tribe. It's an easy balance, and we said it. Somebody said it earlier. Yeah, we need to. The people who are opposing that view need to remind them that they're proud Americans and that true Americans criticize their country. That has to be that has to be driven in. Like, I'm the real American. Right? I don't have because I'm trying to make her better. She stinks sometimes. If you real quick, I'm trying to be, but I have to get this in. If you wait 4 days, don't take a shower, don't wash up 4 days, and then I give you some new clean underwear, clean clothes, some nice perfume, some $100 perfume, you could get away with it for a minute. But eventually that stink is going to come up.
It's going to rise to the top.
And that's American. I love her. But let's clean up. Let's not be afraid to go back to and clean up the original stink of white supremacy, to the Indians, to the indigenous people here, to, of course, to Black Americans, to even
our Latino brothers and sisters.
Right, any immigrants that came over as part of the American, they had to go through this mill of and that's just human nature. They had to go through this mill of, like, the Irish don't blacks and Irish were slaves basically at the same time. They were indentured servants. We were slaves.
Yeah.
They were the Irish and dogs, and and then the Italians went through what they went through, and that speaks a lot to, like, I could tell you a lot of my friends are Italian American from where I grew up, and their thing is, and I try to do my best to explain it, but from their point of view is, my grandfather came here from Italy, bro. I never owned slaves. I don't have nothing to do with that. Yeah. What I try to explain to them is you're European, and the system that was set up when your grandfather came here, even though he was abused when he came here, he could come out of it because he's a European.
Yeah.
So
traditionally, he could fall.
I know you didn't own slaves, but you still benefited in a way.
You should be equally upset on what's going on. Do you have a comment before we move on?
No, we can move on.
But what I want to say is, I want to equate to modern times. If I walk down the street and I see a white kid getting jumped by a bunch of people, I'm not going to sit there and say, you know what, he not black, so let him get jumped.
No.
Even if I don't feel like, you know what, I'm going to put myself in danger and stop that fight, as a human, I'm like, yo, I got to call the cops.
That's the bigger human.
I got to get help. Even if I don't feel safe enough to get involved, as a human being,
right,
I got to be like, yo, I can't sit there and just watch this person get killed.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's the bigger message that's being missed. So I'm going to move on to the next topic. We're running short on time, but is dating outside of your race, because this all plays into it as well. Is a black man dating outside of his race a form of self-hate? Because I've heard that.
Yeah.
We both dated outside our race.
Go ahead.
It's crazy. It's sometimes dating outside your race. You can't help who you fall in love with, right?
Exactly.
But you gotta understand. Even it's a prime example, right? As the girl I was talking to, right? She was a white girl. We was on and off, kind of serious. This is before my wife. But before my wife, and I was just what you call it? Even when Obama and McCain, right? And it's a true story. And I said this, I already knew she was voting for McCain, right? And we were together for a while, and she cared about me. She did this. She always did little things that showed me that she really didn't want to introduce me to her parents, but her parents knew she was dating a black guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we broke up, whatever. And I asked her, I said, who are you voting for, whatever? She said, I'm voting for John McCain because of his political issues, and it had nothing to do with that. Because before, you've been dating this black, you've been dating me for 2 years.
Well, that's one thing we got to understand. We can love someone else, but we don't always adopt their experiences or adopt
it's
that
always
ideology.
And you know what's crazy? In both parties, even with me. Even when she came to visit me in Queens, I couldn't take her to Queens and just be like, whatever. You know what they said? That boy Cliff brought the bunny to the hood. Yo, he changed in the game. It's a certain way you feel about it dating outside of your race. You never feel too comfortable to the point where it's like,
I want to reel it in so I can get an answer to the question.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a sign of self-hate, though? Like if a black man decides to not marry a black woman, is it self-hate?
It's not a sign of self-hate. What I think is sometimes people get put in certain situations and you can't help it. You can't help who you fell in love with.
I think that it's if you have a cough, does that mean you have tuberculosis? So yes, it could be definitely a bad cough could mean you have TB.
So to get everyone to understand, you're saying it could be a symptom, right, but it's not necessarily
the disease.
That disease.
Exactly.
Got it. I got it. That makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Well, my answer to that is like I struggle with this because I don't want to seem like I'm fake woke. Like, I like everything like everybody else, but I'm passionate about, the progression of black people. My main ideology is always economics, right? I'm a finance person. I always realize that money's always going to speak louder than anything else.
We live in a capitalist society.
We live in a capitalist society. But as far as a black man, like to me, even I'm married to a Puerto Rican woman who's very fair, light-skinned. It's like she more looks like, how they say Latinos have a mixture of African and Spaniard heritage.
Yeah.
Her skin more shows her Spanish heritage than her African heritage. I say that to say this. For a while, I used to beat myself up because it's just like I always wanted to have the Huxtables. I wanted to be Cliff and Claire, and then I fell in love with a woman who didn't look like Claire. Yeah. Right? She looks more like she could be a white woman. But my heart, my agenda never changed. Right. But I know sometimes people question me like, oh, Marvel's talking all this, but look, he's with a white woman. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Oh, he got a good job. He does all this stuff like that, but he's not with a black sister, so he's fake woke. Yeah. I don't hate myself. I didn't avoid, all the chocolate sisters I could to go to a sister that wasn't chocolate. But I fell in love with that.
You cannot.
But I still get people still look first glance think I hate myself or I only like a certain kind.
I think it's all about where your consciousness is. See, as you're talking, I'm listening, and I'm saying to myself, race doesn't exist. That's something that was created by that's something that was we created by people to separate conveniently, especially during colonialism. I'm sure race existed before that, but a lot of work started, ironically, around that time as far as classifying the races. That's only the amount of sunlight that the region where you were born comes in. We're human beings is the point I'm trying to make.
Exactly.
Try to mate a monkey with a giraffe, and they're not going to have a baby.
Yeah, but a white man, black one, Asian, black...
We're all human beings.
Exactly.
So,
that's a great answer.
So the next question I have is, because I want to finish this topic so I can give you a few minutes to talk about your book. Is dating outside of your race affecting our community? Do you think it's blurring lines? Do you think it's causing, any negative effects? I don't think so. I think it's making us all look different, but at the same time, while we all looking different because of the mixing,
it's funny.
There's still hate there.
It only can mess up your community when you don't go outside of your community and open doors to different environments, right? Yeah. So if you stay in, we from Southside Jamaica, Queens. If we stay in Southside Jamaica, Queens, and all we see is black sisters, we're gonna think, oh yeah, that's who we're supposed to be. But if we go to Scranton, Pennsylvania, or Westbury or Buffalo, or whatever, and we see white girls, whatever, and we see white and blacks dating each other, like it's normal out there. When you stay in your community, a lot of people stay in their community, in their area, so they get stuck to what is right. Yeah. When you open your door to everything, it's acceptable. You know?
Definitely. And as far as, that's one of the side effects of white supremacy. That's actually, there's a few. I should probably write a book about the side effects of white supremacy that had unintended good effects. The fact that they said if you have one drop of black in you, you're black. Yeah. That's somehow stuck. I have half breed. I have mixed friends and people I love, and they're black. Mama's white, daddy's black, you're black. Yeah. Oh, daddy's black, mama's white, you're black. Yeah. So I think that's something, and they usually identify with that because being the minority and the way we're from whence we come, you can't run from that blackness. Yeah. You think you can, but you can't.
So the last question I'm going to ask is, should race even be considered when it comes to love? I was on a post, and a white woman had posted that she would never date outside of her race because she want her kids to look like her. And on the top level, that is a benign statement, right? Because to be honest with you, I just said before I married my wife, who's a fair-skinned Puerto Rican, I wanted to marry someone who looked like Claire Huxtable. Right? So it's okay to have that preference. So should considering race be a part of how you approach love? I personally think, when you get to a certain point, you should let love fall into your life the way it falls into your life.
See, when I look at it like this, right? When you're a kid, it's certain things you got to go. You got to go to elementary school, junior high school, and high school, right? But when you become an adult, you get to choose, and you got the opportunity what you want and how you can get it, how you go about it. See, that black sister, she might be doing everything for you, but she might not be for you because of the lack of respect she got for you, right? So now you meet this white sister, whatever. This is just all examples. I'm not saying white is better than black. Black is just all examples. That white sister now is building you when you had nothing. She's talking to you a certain way. She's making you feel comfortable. And now you say, I want to date this white woman. I feel good about it. I could be myself. Sometimes you get guarded by certain situations. But it shouldn't play of how you feel and love somebody because you don't know. I I dated a lot of white women, but now I'm with African American women and Dominican women, Latin and black women.
Half African, half Latino.
Yes, but I dated a lot of white women. It wasn't because I was like, oh, I'm tired of the sisters, I'm tired of this, whatever. No, at the time, that's what I cared for. But it wasn't like saying I was going to close the door on them.
It's your exposure to
it's exposure. When you like you said, areas that had a lot of Caucasian women. When you're a kid, a certain transition you happen. When you're an adult, you should broaden your horizon towards what's right.
I think it goes back to my previous answer. It's your development and consciousness. I didn't think the way I think now when I was 22. When I was 22, I thought I really believed that I needed to be with a black woman.
Because that's tradition. That's how you was raised.
Because I didn't want to, I didn't want to disrespect my mother, black women, my grandmother, my sisters, and I felt that at that time. But now, as I get older and as my consciousness changes and my understanding of the world and of the universe changes, we're human beings. All that other stuff, to say it doesn't matter, you deal with whatever. You're gonna have different challenges if you choose to be with, a white woman. You're gonna have different challenges if you choose to be with an African man.
Yeah.
But again, as you meet, not to sound elitist, but in universities and in the workplace and in higher, that kind of what you were saying, getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it just, that's
you embrace different minds, different people.
Yeah, you become you accept all kind.
It becomes less important.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna end this show. It was a very great show, and I really appreciate you coming through, Mr.
Sorry,
Sean
I was
Farmer.
late.
Now it's all
Brooklyn
good.
Traffic, man.
But we still was able to touch certain things. So I want to give you a minute to discuss your book and what you got going on.
I appreciate it. I'm actually looking for a publisher right now, but the book is it's never finished. But we're editing. But the book is called Becoming Blue: Understanding Police Culture. Becoming Blue.
That's deep.
So it's about explaining to people why my sister thinks that way.
You got to come back and definitely
once you get the
explain
book.
it.
Because not to plug myself, I did a self-published book called Where the Sun Doesn't Shine, and I speak about the color, the color issues we have in the community and going through stuff like that. I self-published through Amazon, so I don't know if that's something you would consider.
Looked at it, right. I did look at that, but we'll talk after. Yeah.
Okay, but continue discussing your book.
So basically, it's just the purpose of the book is not going to bash police, and it's not going to. It's trying to explain to civilians why cops act like that, why they are, and it's very clear reasons. The culture is a protection. When you go to that car, I don't think I have to illustrate it as a dangerous job and this and that, and it's stressful, and all that, and it really is. And I don't mean to brush that off, but civilians need to understand why
certain behaviors and why they act the way they act. It would help.
Right? Yeah. I just think as a behavioralist, it helps to understand why that person is acting that way. It doesn't forgive it, but it helps to understand the solution. And also, there's a part of the book that has solutions. If anybody ever reads it and anybody ever cares, there's a few solutions on how to improve the culture. Because you can improve culture by adding things in, right? It's like a gravy. Yeah. You might that needs a little garlic,
little spice ingredients,
little spice. Yeah.
All right, so because we gotta go, I want you to, if you feel comfortable, share your social media in case someone wants to reach out to you, follow you, and speak to you. So. I can be. My email is SEEN 265 AOL. I still use AOL, Generation X, and my Facebook is Sean Farmer. I guess you could reach out to me on Facebook Messenger or whatever. Yeah. I'm still getting tech savvy over here. Okay. But, and my Instagram. And like when that book come out, I'm definitely going to share it to my audience. And
I'm going to come on for some shameless plugs, brother.
Nah, it's all good. You got anything to say before we head out?
Nah, I just want to shout out once again. I want to shout out my OG for coming to the show. I work with him, and we always have deep conversation. And I was like, you know what? We need to touch on these issues that's going on now. And I know he would be the perfect example to touch on because he has both fields, military and the cop background. And these are conversations we have at work every Friday.
I really appreciate you bringing Mr. Farmer on.
Definitely Mr. Farmer coming on to the show.
It was perfect timing of what's going on, and I wanted to have this conversation.
So just shout out to him and everybody else.
Yeah, like I said, I want to shout out to Mr. Sean Farmer for coming through. I want to shout out to everyone who's following the Views from the Friend Zone podcast.
Keep supporting.
Please share the episode, share these videos, because it allows my conversation to go further. Or if you listen to the podcast on iTunes, please rate it, leave a comment, and if you don't like it, still leave a comment so I know how I can improve. And like I say, every week, you know, I did a nil for injustice challenge. If you feel open to one, do one. I'll share it if it comes across on my side. And like I always say, chase a legacy and not liabilities. And that was Views from the Friend Zone podcast. We out.
Yeah.
Peace.